What's up, people? Today we're here to talk about some lies, myths, legends that simply aren't true. So why am I here today? Well, I think we've covered that in the intro. We're going to be talking about some of the lies, the myths, the legends that have been told about VR that simply are not true. Now, the reason I wanted to sit here and talk to you about it is because I'm an avid VR user. I use it every day of my life. I record the videos for the channel. I play it in my own time. I love it. I love it. I have a Vive and I have the index controllers for myself, my personal use. I also have a PSVR and I'm hopefully getting the Quest coming pretty soon. Now, I have all of these things because I love it. VR is the perfect opportunity to immerse yourself in a game in a way that is just simply not possible with a flat screen gaming. You just cannot have that level of immersion whilst sitting at your desk with your PC or your controller or whatever it is that you're playing on. It just doesn't equal the same level of immersion that you can get out of VR gaming. They are very different beasts. Will VR ever take over gaming entirely? Absolutely not, because there is still a huge place for sitting and playing like a flat screen gaming. Like, there are a lot of experiences that work perfectly for that, and there's a lot of experiences that work perfectly for VR. It has a place, and it's been firmly concreted in its place, in my opinion, over the last few years. We've had some exceptional titles coming out that really make you realise why that level of immersion is so incredible and important to certain VR titles. Now, some of the myths and lies and stuff and misconceptions that have been spoken about VR are things that are close to me because I've had them actually said to me previously. When I've been talking about VR and the pros of VR, people come back with these same sort of arguments.
The cost of VR is too expensive, I could never get into it.
Just simply not true. Okay? Yes, back in like 2016, you may well have needed a £2,000 PC to even begin imagining playing VR. In the day and age that we're living in now, well, that's just simply not true. It's more than accessible in multitude of different ways. You can go out and you can buy a PSVR right now for 300 quid and you'll get the wands, you get the headset, you get 5 games that come with it as well, like flagship games. You can be set up for 300 quid and you don't need a £2,000 PC because you've got the console that you already have probably in your lounge anyway. So if you want to get into it, it's a great way to start your VR journey, and it's incredible. It's how I started my VR journey. The first time I bought into it because I wanted to see what it was all about, I bought PSVR. Mine was blown. And like I say, that's for like 300 quid and with a piece of gear that you probably have in the house anyway. And if you don't, then you can still get bundle packages that are sort of more than reasonably priced, man. So getting into it is very accessible in my opinion. If you want to go for a standalone option, one where you don't need a PC, you don't need to tether it to a phone, you don't even need to tether it to your console, and again, very affordably, you can go for something like the Oculus Quest. For the 64GB one, you can look, what, 400 quid I think, and $400. If you want to go up for a higher bit, you can go for something like 128GB model, which is like £500, 500 US. Seriously, that's incredible when you think about it. That costing, it may sound incredibly high, but you own a phone in your pocket that's probably £1,000 at the best of times anyway. So saying it's not accessible, again, I don't feel like that's true. In this day and age, we're living in a time where it's actually more accessible than ever. You don't need to have a PC to run that thing. It's completely, put it on your head, you're in the game with an incredible selection of games to play on it as well. The expensive PC element of gaming in VR also, in my personal opinion, doesn't seem to be very true. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you want to go to the absolute high tier of VR, then yes, you definitely want some sort of like RTX fucking 2080 or something. Definitely. To run that sort of power gear. But if you're in a place where you're spending £1,000 on a headset, you're probably in a place where you already have a PC that is going to run it, in my opinion. But like I say, you don't need to have that kind of money to run it. Now, I personally run a 1080 graphics card and it runs my Vive perfectly, very crisp. You can tell that because I make the videos every single day of the week for the channel. So you don't need to. You obviously need to aim for the tier that you're going to be recording at, because if you're going to be playing something like mine, like the original Vive, you don't need to have that powerhouse PC to run it. Like, if you already have a PC that's already running AAA title games and stuff anyway, you're probably in a place where you can run VR. And there's some simple things that you can do to test that via Steam. There's obviously, again, another free option. You can literally run that. It will tell you whether your system's ready and what stuff you're ready for. So nice and simple. You know, it's not as expensive as you think, and like I say, if you're already sitting at home playing on a PC gaming anyway, you quite possibly already have all the gear that you needed in the first place and you didn't even know it. To get into that side of things, used, you know, HMDs you can buy into, you can also obviously buy them new, and again, they're not that ridiculously overpriced. In my opinion, it feels very accessible at this point to be able to go out and buy those things. Obviously they're luxury items, it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's also far from the most expensive thing that people seem to put this huge price tag up on it, like you need to spend £2,000 or £3,000 to get into VR. You don't need to. You don't need to also go to the absolute top tier God mode for VR when you're first coming into it. I would 100% recommend getting into it slightly cheaper, like with the Quest or the PSVR, because you want to learn that game and you want to get your, what we call in VR, your VR legs in. You don't want to start in the most extensive experience of your life, because you know, you want to get your VR legs first. Start in like slower, more realistic experiences, and then you get your VR legs over time. The other very popular thing that I have said to me when I talk about VR is,
No games look any good. They're all just tech demos and they look crap.
and this just simply isn't true. There have been an extensive number of games come out just this year alone. I will go into a few examples in a minute, but I've really just wanted to hit on this point at the moment, which is just, that's just not true. So I'm going to talk about a few games today that hopefully will show you it's not just some blocky crap running around a screen tech demo games. That's just not the way it is anymore. Now we're looking at very immersive, beautiful, stunning games that will actually blow your mind when you play them. And trust me, because I've had my mind blown far too many times in VR, and still to this day when I pick up new games I still get my mind blown. So that says a lot for the industry. For something like the PSVR, which has probably the best exclusives locked into it out of all of them, some of the experiences I've had have just been phenomenal. Stuff like Blood and Truth, a game where you literally get to experience being like a London gangster, running around, running gun, jumping over rooftops, doing everything that's possibly imagined, and just living out your childhood dreams of being in the actual action movie. You've got games like Farpoint, where you're literally on an alien planet exploring and wandering around this brand new world that you could just simply not have that same experience whilst on a flat screen. It's being in there, it's the immersion that really helps sell that sort of stuff. You've got stuff like Firewall. If you're into your COD and stuff, then this kind of game is going to massively appeal to you. Being in there, there's no greater feeling than actually pulling the trigger yourself, whipping a grenade off your chest and throwing that into this scenario, you know, pulling the pin. All of these sorts of things just add to that level of immersion that you just simply can't get out of any other style of gaming. On PC side of things, holy crap dude, PC and Quest most of this is covering, you know, you've got massive, the biggest titles of VR in all time. Beat Saber, people love that stuff. It's good for fitness, it's good for fun, it's just all round good. You can't really beat a bit of Beat Saber. You've got things that like take you down sort of like the puzzle solving element of the world. I Expect You to Die, where you play a spy solving puzzles, doing things that you've never experienced. Blade and Sorcery, where you can go in and literally have the battles that you've dreamed about having as a kid when you used to fight your friends with their imaginary swords or foam swords and just pissing around and having fun. You can actually go live that and experience that for yourself. Hellsplit, another one again for all that sword fighting fun and just getting in there, and yeah, these will never be experienced hopefully in your life. Will you ever have to chop someone up with a sword? Clearly. But at the same time, being able to go into a game and experience that fun of the swords, just sword playing, just fun. Now you have a chance to actually go in and do these things. It's fun as heck, you know, you can literally just go in, have some fun, have a blast on that sort of stuff. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. This game took you into the world of The Walking Dead, into a zombie apocalypse world where you could actually experience living in an apocalyptic situation, you know? You can, once again, you can't get that in any other way and any other level of immersion other than with VR. Then you've got obviously the biggest title of VR in all time, which is Half-Life Alyx. That game was an incredible experience, and the reason that, in my opinion, that they took it to VR is because you literally couldn't have that experience in any other way. And I know I've sort of like I'm hammering away at that same point, but once again, it's very important to remember that point, is that you cannot have that thing in any other scenario. The sense of reloading your weapon, cocking it, pulling those grenades off you, doing those things, injecting yourself with the health serum, you know, to get your health back up, that feeling of your heart rate going in your hands with the haptic feedback in your controllers, and just that sense of immersion because you're in there with good audio, good visuals, again, good controllers. Personally, I use the Index, which is full finger tracking. So you've just got such a level of immersion that once you get into that, it's just an incredible experience that you just couldn't have in any other way. Another big one I get quite often is,
there's nobody playing VR.
the PSVR alone has sold over 4.2 million units. 4.2 million people out there with a PSVR headset. That's a lot of people playing. I couldn't find much information on how many units were sold for the Oculus or the Vive, but what I could find is a percentage of users that they had on the Steam store currently that are playing VR. Now you might look at this and think, wow, that's weak sauce, there's not a lot. Well actually, I'm here to tell you that is a lot. Now, there are 90 million active users on Steam. So when you work out those percentages, that's working at around 198,000 people that are active players playing on Steam right now using their Oculus headsets and their Vive headsets, you know? That's a pretty incredible number. That obviously doesn't even include the 4.2 million like that we actually have as a figure roughly for PSVR. That doesn't also include the Oculus store, which most people use unless they sort of use the Steam store as a piggyback to play games. So I don't know what those figures are, but you start putting all this together and there's a lot of people playing VR. I think you can do the math for yourself that if you go into a popular game, you're going to find people. VR chat is insanely popular. You got the games like Pavlov, which is a shooting style sort of, you know, battle game. You've got all sorts of battle royales that are very popular. You got Lone Echo alone has like its own sort of side game that's very popular to play online. There are a lot of games that you can play online with people, and it can be an incredible experience, again, unlike anything else. One of the other things I get quite often is,
I tried VR on my phone and it was rubbish.
you simply can't compare a Google Cardboard experience with VR. I just have had people tell me that so many times. Oh, it's a bit janky, you know, because I use one of those garbled. I use one of those Google Cardboards, and you know, or I got this free thing from the gas station and I put my phone in it and I was like, whoa, this is rubbish. Well, yeah, because that is simply not comparable to an actual VR headset and the experience that you would have from an actual VR headset. They're two very different beasts. So I really urge you, if that's your only experience you've had with VR and you were incredibly disappointed, which I can imagine you possibly were, then yeah, you should probably look into going to a demo or something. You can arrange these things now. You can go to demos of these and try an Oculus out, try a Vive. These things are possible, and if not, then I'm sure that you can probably know someone who is into it and maybe ask them if you can try it and experience it for yourself. I mean, yeah, I get it. You might not want to spend the £400 to find out what VR's like, but I promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. The biggest one that we seem to have said so often, which simply just isn't true, is
VR is dead.
VR's not dead. It's the furthest from being dead it's ever possibly been. Like, don't get me wrong, yeah, in the 90s when we released some crappy VR and stuff like that, there were some bad experiences. Even when the DK1s were coming out and stuff, yeah, it felt like unobtainium to people. But in this day and age, like I've listed and told you already, it's more than obtainable to jump into VR now. It's not dead. The reason I would say it's not dead, possibly by the biggest, if you're not convinced by the sheer numbers of what I've told you anyway at this point. And with Vive, you know, literally, you have like an 8-week lead time now, 8 to 10 weeks I think it is actually, because they are struggling to make them fast enough to sell them. These units are being sold at a super high rate, and especially going through everything we've been through quite recently was the pandemic. I think people now are suddenly realising that they can actually use it to socialise, so the Quest and stuff like that just boomed because people suddenly had that realisation how amazing VR could be to socialising. You know, personally, I've had some of the most immersive experience, not only gaming, but I've also had fun going into VR chat and just chatting to people and having fun and actually socializing. Now, it might feel to some people like that's weird, but it's really not. It's just a fun way to go and experience stuff. Like at the moment, there are things like VR gigs happening now, where people literally go out and feel like they've had a night out because they've gone out. Now, when you're in lockdown, you know, being able to do those things is actually quite a nice sensation and feeling, and going out and actually talking to people, it feels like you're actually getting out there. So I can understand why VR sales have shot up so recently, but it's just a good thing, you know. In my opinion, this is going to be a big part of our future of gaming going forward. Yes, again, it's not going to take over everything. Of course it's not, because there is still a big place for people to sit and enjoy playing a flat screen game. Personally, I still do. I love playing certain games, you know, and sitting online and playing with friends. Sometimes, yeah, sitting there in front of a flat screen, it's good fun. Console gaming, sitting on your couch, chilling out and relaxing playing a game, yeah, of course. But when you want to get yourself into that game and really feel like you're there, with that immersion and that experience that you just simply can't get anywhere else, that's when VR takes the win. And I hope today that I've changed a few opinions of yours. I hope today that a few of you may well now reconsider your previous thoughts on VR if you've watched this video. And if you're into VR, I hope I've just re-cemented for you, baby, why you love it. That's just my opinions. I hope that you've enjoyed the video. If you like this style of content, guys, I would love your feedback. So if you enjoyed this, please do smash the like button. If you'd like to see more content on the channel coming to you like this, I've been thinking about doing like a monthly review video or something along those kind of lines, maybe something a bit more about what's going on in the VR industry and the world right now. So if you'd like that type of video, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any thoughts or things I missed, I would be quite happy to do a part 2 of this. If you've got any other cool myths and crap that people say about VR, well, maybe I'll do a part 2 to this and bust some more myths if you let me know down in the comments down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.